Alright, all you music makers, video game players, and entertainers from all around the world, welcome to the 565th edition of Music Village. I am your host from East Coast, DJ Smokey, bringing you the best from the North, South, East, and West that the world of music and games has to offer, and seeing the fact that we are fresh off the heels of a very exciting Mayday with a May weekend to look forward to, we might as well waste no time and explain to you guys what's going to happen on this very special Maycation edition of Music Village. Because we kick things off, speaking of a vacation, with what our plans entails for this month of May for another edition of the Music Village update. And apparently Carl the Maestro's already got a suitcase packed. Well, not yet. What are you doing? Also, besides that, we go ahead and check out some cool games from a planet far away from here and from the Steam machine alike for another edition of the Friday Night Greenlight. Then we go from green to silver and at least 50 to 80 feet tall for a very special iron stomping edition of the DJ Smokey's True Video Game Stories. And according to Carl the Maestro, I might have a head count with this one, or a foot count. You know, we'll go with the head count, it sounds better. Also, besides that, we go ahead and check out what you independent artists got planned for this weekend for another edition of the Indy for the weekend, which is me giving you guys local content information from local artists performing in a local area live near you. Then finally, last but not least, and hopefully before any more bees get in Music Village headquarters, we wrap up this show with another edition of the Up to Speed News, which is me giving you guys news stories from this week from, you guessed it, all around the world. And I guess with that said, I might as well tell Carl and Maestro to kick up the beats, crank out the tunes, and most importantly, get that bee repellent next to the door for Music Village headquarters before this turns into a honeycomb hideout. Cause it's time for us to bring some fun and delight on your Friday afternoon/night. Only here, right here on Music Village. So let's get this show started, folks. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Music Village. And you know, folks, outside of the crazy afternoon traffic, the change in the weather, and not to mention the influx of bees around here, and Carl the Maestro, if you're wondering at home, was able to handle the bee problem for now. Because apparently he put one of those flowers outside and it was able to work. No, Carl the Maestro, I'm not a florist, so I don't know what type of flower it is. But besides fixing a small bee problem, folks, and, well, besides what we just said, I think it's time for us to go into another edition of the Music Village Update. And, folks, we're 5 months deep into this 25th year of the 2000s. Wow, almost halfway through this entire year already, and around here, during this month is often known as the month of the unknown. And the reason for that, folks, is because we don't know what in the world is going to happen this month or what we got planned. But for this year, one thing we have planned for certain is definitely something called a Maycation. Now, during this Maycation, we'll feature video game stories we had on the back burner for a while, and a couple of surprise video game stories from somebody of royalty. Just as a bit of a heads up, But outside of the video game stories we've got planned for this month, for the Tuesday night special, we got shows that are featured around that sweet spot time of the night. And I guess that's the best explanation we could give for it, but let's just say some very interesting shows we're gonna mention. And for Under the Radar, and for those who weren't able to catch it this week, we said that we are going to feature as many tracks as possible before we head out of here. And Carl and the Maestro said maybe you should have led with that. Oh yeah, you're right. Well, folks, unfortunately, after the 16th of this upcoming May, we will be going on vacation for approximately 3 weeks. Yep, 3 weeks until, I do believe, the second week of the month of Extreme of June. And for the reason why we're going on vacation, folks, well, a couple of surprises and a little bit of computer repair on the side as well, too. Because outside of running our voice ragged, we also ran our computer ragged as well, too, and it requires a complete tune-up and upgrade to go along with it. So, yeah, folks, unfortunately for this merry month of May, we're only here until the middle of it. But before we leave, and to get back on track, because Paul and the Maestro said, now that you explained why in the world this month is going to be so short, we will answer your questions at home for a Music Village mailbag in less than 2 weeks' time prior to our big vacation. And alongside with that, for you wrestling fans out there, yes, we will feature the pay-per-view known as Backlash from St. Louis, Missouri, a part of the Indy Radio Arcade, with a very special game and movie that will be featured for it as well, too. We're still at a bit of a toss-up of what it's going to be, but trust me, it should be something special. And oh, before I forget, folks, and Carl and the Maestro said for the last Under the Radar prior to us scrambling out of here, which will be a milestone episode, none other than the 490th episode of Under the Radar. And along with those bit of surprises, and apparently according to Carl and the Maestro, a mega mix of tracks to go in there for it as well, for Music Village as well, for next week, we will try to have a CD review for you fans at home of another indie artist we will try to pluck from the said indie verse that's around here. And I guess with everybody in the NIM with what plans we got prepared for this Maycation for this year, and the first Maycation we're going to be taking in well over 3 years, I suggest everybody at home grab their pair of sunglasses, grab a cool Hawaiian shirt, get in your hammocks, and get prepared to enjoy some good old-fashioned fun before we go off into the sunset. But not permanently. It's for 3 weeks, Carl and my show. Give me that look. And I guess with that said, folks, I think it's time for us to head back to that music once again. And when we return, we'll be back with another edition of the Friday Night Greenlight as Music Village rolls on right after this. So don't wear your horns out in traffic just yet, folks, and stay tuned. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Music Village. And as a bit of a heads up and something we completely forgot to mention during that update, we will be having the return of a work in progress this weekend to kick off your first weekend of this vacation. Nice. But to make this weekend just a little bit better, I think it's time for us to check out some games from a planet far away from here and from the Steam machine alike for a very special post-Mayday edition of the Friday Night Greenlight. the first game that we have up comes from the itch.io page of Knucklebang with their said game of Nip for Speed 2. And this game automatically reminds me of a what-if scenario if they decided in the world of Adult Swim to come up with their own version of Mr. Peabody and Sherman. And Carl and Michael said technically that would make it Rick and Morty, wouldn't it? I thought that was themed after Back to the Future. I could be wrong. But either way you look at it, here's hoping in the near future that you can actually be able to drive this said boat with the dog. And according to Carl and the Maestro, the dog was the one who stole the said boat, and you have to try to find a cat during the adventure. So it is sort of like an Adult Swim version of Mr. Peabody and Sherman. Yeah, it sounds right up their alley, except without the way back machine. But besides trying to find a way back machine to get out of that situation, the next game that we have up comes from the developers Kuro Games with their set game of Wuthering Waves. Hey, that sounds awfully familiar. And this game automatically reminds me of a what-if scenario if they decided to make a MMO version of a Tales game, or just a bigger version of a Tales of game, according to Carl and the Maestro. All right? And here's hoping in the near future for this set game that not only you get a chance to play as different characters for it, but maybe get a chance to play with your friends alongside with you. And according to Carl and the Maestro, yeah, you can play with your friends, but on certain missions. Well, here's hoping they can join you in some boss fights too, just in case things get too tough. But besides getting the more and merrier experience for a boss fight with your friends in a fight that'll most likely take you 30 minutes to beat, the next game that we have up comes from the developers Sea Glass Games with their set game of Dice with Death. And this game automatically reminds me of, can I say craps for this one? I was gonna say liar's dice, but the last person you should be lying to is death. And Carl and I shall give me the thumbs up along with the PR department, so I guess it reminds me of craps. And here's hoping in the near future for this game that if you're playing for your life, that you get an extra dice just in case. And Carl and the Maestro said that's cheating death, but at the same time, if you end up winning against death, you're cheating death nonetheless, or beating it. But apparently, according to Carl and the Maestro, you've already died, so, I guess, play for your life? And Carl and the Maestro still confused about that, so what life are you playing for? You know what? Just give me a chance to come up with some form of custom dice to play against death, and I'll be fine. But besides that land of confusion we almost sent Carl and the Maestro on with the PR department in tow, the next game that we have up comes from the developers Silent Games with their set game of Imperial. Or Imperial? We'll go with the second one just in case, and this game automatically reminds me of, I would have to say it reminds me a little bit of that one movie featuring Ben Affleck. Or was it Matt Damon in that movie where he was in the Echo suit? Yeah, it reminds me of that. And here's hoping in the near future for this game that not only do you get a chance to wear a cool mech suit to take out creatures, but maybe, just maybe, some form of tech to help you fight against dragons. And Carl and the Maestro said there are no dragons in this ancient civilization, but you don't know what's on this unexplored palace or planet, so there could be a dragon on there. I already see some ancient creatures on there and some weird-looking goblin-like thing that's trying to attack you, so yeah, chances are there's probably a dragon on this planet. But besides my suspicions of whatever sort of weird creature that may or may not attack you on an alien planet, the next game that we have up comes from the developers Grape Pickers, or Grapes Pickers, with their set game of Survival Machine. And with the picture alone, it automatically reminds me of, I would have to say, Fern Gully, because it does look like the giant tree chopping machine from that movie with a little hint of the invention machine that you would ride in the game of A Way Things Work, or The Way Things Work. Now, here's hoping in the near future for this set game, and Carl and the Maestro said you're based that's on a moving machine for this, that you get a chance to gather enough resources to upgrade this machine to fight against the zombie horde that might try to attack you in the middle of the night. And according to Carl and the Maestro, yeah, you can upgrade it, but at the same time, you gotta make sure you put the machine in park, because it will leave without you. Well, obviously, I'm gonna put it in park. What type of moron do you take me for? Don't answer that. Don't answer that. And the next game that we have up, besides Carl and Maestro questioning my intelligence, comes from the developers Flipline Studios with their set game of Jack Smith, Weapons and Warriors. And this game automatically reminds me of the old blacksmiths from just about every single movie you could think of. And off the top of my head, I could think of right now is A Knight's Tale. Yep, definitely reminds me of that. So here's hoping in the near future that after you craft these weapons, you can test these weapons on certain creatures. Or even get a chance to send an assistant out to try to find more materials from other places that help you build the best weapons that you can possibly build. And apparently, according to Carl and the Maestro, these weapons are going to be used to fight against an evil wizard that goes by the name of Dudley. Now, is it Devon, Bubba Ray, or any of the other members of the Dudley Boys? And Carl and the Maestro said no. No, it's not. Okay, I was just asking to make sure. And the next game that we have up, and apparently the last but not least game that we have up to kick off this month of our vacation, comes from none other. And Carl and the Maestro said drum roll on this one. Because this game comes from none other than Yekta Oxkan or Ozkan? We'll go with the second one just in case with their set game of Express Car Wash Simulator Prologue. And this game automatically reminds me of, I guess a car wash. It's the best answer I can give. And here's hoping in the near future for this set game that not only you get a chance to actually upgrade this said car wash and have different forms of wax and soap and other things to help you truly get somebody's car squeaky clean, but maybe, just maybe, a chance for you to actually upgrade a couple of other things, including employees, to help you out during the job. And according to Carl and the Maestro, yeah, you can actually get more employees to help you wash cars, but one thing you should be trying to upgrade is the snack machines to make sure that the snacks don't cost $2.50 for a soda. Oh, I'll make sure of that. The soda's only going to cost $1. We're going to keep it standard. Now, the Milky Ways, on the other hand, may be for more than that. And if you guys want to go ahead and check out any other cool games that are still making their way from a planet far away from here, yet close enough to be beamed into your homes in less than 24 hours, then you can go ahead and head on over to the Free Game Planet page of one man only known as freegameplanet.com and check out a whole bunch of weird, strange, awesome, and frightening games that are just out of this world. If you also want to go ahead and check out any other cool games that are still making their way through the Steam machine via the cargo ship, cargo plane, or even subterranean train that is currently rumbling underneath your toes, then you can go ahead and head on over to the store.steampower page of one man only known as store.steampower.com and click ever so lightly on that upcoming button while clicking on that Indy button to go along with it to check out a whole bunch of cool games that are just as cool as this Hawaiian shirt we're wearing right now. Alrighty then. And I I guess with that said, folks, I think it's time for us to head back into that music once again. And when we return, we'll be back with yet another new DJ Smokey's True Video Game Stories right after this. So don't get lost in that evening traffic just yet, folks, and stay tuned. Alright, all you video gamers, welcome to yet another Universal Iron Stomper edition of the DJ Smokey's True Video Game Story. And with a title like that, we decided to go with the video game none other than Multiverses, the Iron Stomper edition. And I guess with that said, I think it's time for us to go ahead and make sure the nuts and bolts are screwed on tight as we get prepared to stomp people outright in a good old-fashioned fight as we get ready to paint the picture. All right. This video game story began approximately well over a year ago, almost to the date, when I decided to get back into this game after they announced that this game was finally back online. And when I saw all the list of characters and realized this game was sort of like Super Smash Brothers, I started thinking, what a Smash mentality. Now, my Smash mentality in games, folks, is if there's a character that can stomp somebody into the dirt out of mid-flight, it's a character for me. And there was many characters I tried to test out that I could get my hands on when they relaunched the game. There was Shaggy, and he did that weird little running move in the air, but it really wasn't for me, so he was out. Wonder Woman had the shield and sword combination, but unfortunately I couldn't get her at the time. Same for Batman, Superman, Taz, Garnet, even Steven Universe. I couldn't even get him because it wasn't on the rotation list for that week. Jake, Rain Dog, Finn, Velma, and Arya Stark, as well as Bugs Bunny. Well, according to Call of the Maestro during the launch week, Bugs Bunny was one of the characters, but didn't really have a good move that can really stomp somebody down into the dirt with. And as I was scrolling through the characters and thought all hope was lost after I went through LeBron James, and even with a slam dunk didn't really give me that satisfaction of really stomping someone to the earth, I would run into the biggest character on the roster and someone I almost overlooked despite his size, none other than the Iron Giant. And when I saw the Iron Giant and said, oh, come on, if I use him, he's going to be as slow and big as Donkey Kong, and I'm not going to be able to get any real offensive moves off on anybody with him. But little did I know I was horribly wrong, because not only he would be able to move fast, but also he would have different sort of combo moves that combined Donkey Kong and Bowser into one ultimate killing robo machine. Because not only he would be able to have a grab attack like Bowser did back in Smash Brothers Melee and would just chomp on somebody and just swing them to the ground, or the combination of grabbing somebody, hitting them with the said car alarm, and then slam them into the ground, or even the possibility of jumping up in the air and smashing toward the ground just like Bowser would. And all of these combinations proved deadly, but one move that I stuck with that really did help me out to really send somebody packing home would be his transformation ability that he would have that would allow me to automatically turn into some form of protection robot that had lasers, rockets, and electricity coming out of it from all different directions. But the one move that it would have that I cared about would be this giant oversized iron stomp move that I would call the Robo Stomper. And everybody who was at the edge of a stage, no matter what sort of portal I would go to, or what level they were, or whatever they did, they would always go down to that one move. And I would go over there and quote Wild Wild West, and Carl and the Maestro already laughing about this one because one person I faced online, when activating that move, I would be able to pull off a move of a continuous stomp right in their direction while saying, I beat my feet in the Mississippi mud. And watched as both of the characters who were against me, but my partner already out, sitting there just getting dropped down to the ground, flying diagonal and just disappearing into the ether. And before I could possibly forget, both of these characters were not only LeBron James, but I do believe Bugs Bunny as well, who both got dropped. And with two characters already on the list, I would start to build a head list and a head count of taking people out. After I took out LeBron and Bugs Bunny, I would make my way on over to Taz. Then Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, Shaggy, Garnet, especially in her own home that she had in that one stage, stomped her out from the upper part of the trees and sent her adjacent to the earth quicker than a New York minute, and I was laughing when I took her out too. Then after taking those characters out, I would make my way over to Steven, Finn and Jake, Ryan Dog, Velma, and even none other than Harley Quinn and Tom and Jerry. Now, before I could possibly get my hands on the other character of Taz, who was a part of this list, and the Iron Giant himself to complete the circuit, for some reason, the characters would go missing. And the character in question would be the Iron Giant himself. And I would say to King and Alex, wait a minute, check this out. The Iron Giant's not on the list. What happened? Little did I know, after a series of complaints for this character, they would immediately take him out of the game and patch him, which would take well over a month and would add several more characters to the list that I would have to try to stomp out to actually build back up the list once again. But unfortunately, the Iron Giant from that moment forward would not be the same again. He would be slower, stronger, and would stomp a lot harder than he did before. But I guess with that said, folks, wraps it up for a very special Iron Stomping Hit List edition of the DJ Smokey's True Video Game Stories. And with that, we'll be back with more right after this. So stay tuned. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Music Village. And yeah, about that video game story, if you're wondering at home, was I able to get the rest of the characters a part of multiverses? Well, I got a lot of warp pads and tunnels to go through, and eventually I'll get Raven, Lola, Aquaman, or whatever other creature they decided to bring a part of the multiverses. So eventually, and probably with a video game story and pictures for it, most likely before the end of the year. We hope. But besides another stomping list that I've decided to create from a Smash Brothers world gone by, I think it's time for us to go into one of my favorite parts of the show. That's right, ladies and gentlemen, none other than the Indy for the weekend, which is me giving you guys local concert information from local artists performing in a local area live near you. And we kick things off with Friday, May 2nd. And the first band we have up for the second is Stu Hooten, who's going to be performing at the Simply Greek Restaurant and Bar in Long Branch, New Jersey at 6 p.m. Touch of Grey is going to be performing at the Bernie's Hillside Tavern in Chester Township, New Jersey at 6 p.m. Wendy Zoffer is going to be performing at the Yankee Doodle Tap Room in the Nassau Inn in Princeton, New Jersey at 6 p.m. Mike Garanja with the Coots is going to be performing at the Calandrandra's Italian restaurant in Caldwell, New Jersey at 6:30 p.m. Pam McCoy is going to be performing at the Val's Tavern in Rumson, New Jersey at 7 p.m. You can also see Broadway, Ace Frehley, and Mainline, who's all going to be performing at the Starland Ballroom in Sayreville, New Jersey at 7 p.m. Andrew Moore is going to be performing at the Graduate Princeton in Princeton, New Jersey at 7 p.m. Carlotta Smith is going to be performing at the Georgie's in Asbury Park, New Jersey at 8 p.m. Darren DeMarco is going to be performing at the Pattenberg House Bar and Grill in Asbury, New Jersey at 8 p.m. And to finally wrap things up for Friday night, and a little bit out of order, you can see James Popick, who's going to be performing at the Plainsboro Library in Plainsboro, New Jersey at 7 p.m. And on Saturday, May 3rd, you can see these following bands performing in a local area near you live. Stu Hooten is going to be performing at the Cafe Corral in Red Bank, New Jersey at 10 a.m. Eldad Tamaru is going to be performing at the Cafe Maria in Union City, New Jersey at 11 a.m. Stu Hooten is going to be performing at the Waypoint 662 restaurant in Breeville, New Jersey at 6 p.m. And apparently, according to Carl and the Maestro, 1 p.m. 1 p.m. But besides that ballpark error, Guy Campo is going to be performing at the Cedar Vale Winery in Logan Township, New Jersey at 3 p.m. Martin Rivas is going to be performing at the MJ's Restaurant Bar and Grill in Tinton Falls, New Jersey at 7 p.m. The Good Frost Project is going to be performing at the National Hotel in Frenchtown, New Jersey at 7 p.m. You can also see Jesse Guerin's Tribute to Elvis is going to be performing at the Landings in Vineland, New Jersey at 8 p.m. Kinderhook is going to be performing at the Lizzie Rose Music Room in Tuckerton, New Jersey at 8 p.m. And to finally wrap things up for Friday, nay, strike that Saturday night, you can see Mike Garanja with Sharp Edge, who's both going to be performing at the River Grill in Chatham, New Jersey at 9:30 p.m. And on Sunday, May 4th, aka Star Wars Day, you can see these following bands performing in a local area or galaxy near you live. Brian is going to be performing at the Monterey Court Studio Galleries and Cafe in Tucson, Arizona at 10 a.m. Gospel Sunday Brunch with Jim Sloan and Friends is going to be performing at the Red Brick Tavern in Conroe, Texas at 11:30 a.m. Lee Mathis and the Brutally Handsome, nice band name and cool logo too, by the way, is all going to be performing at the Green Hall in New Braunfels, Texas at 12 p.m. Dixon's Violin is going to be performing at the Token Lounge in Westland, Michigan at 4 p.m. Mike McDevitt is going to be performing at the Flash in Kennett Square, Pennsylvania at 5 p.m. Our Wife is going to be performing at the Fitzgerald Nightclub in Berwyn, Illinois at 5:30 p.m. Lydia Adam Davis with Victor Roland Melsa is all going to be performing at the Town Crier Cafe in Beacon, New York at 6 p.m. Tony Furtado is going to be performing at the Swallow Hill Music in Denver, Colorado at 6 p.m. You can also see, and according to Carl and the Maestro, Bobcat, the one-man band, nice band name, who's going to be performing at the Red Brick Tavern in Conroe, Texas at 7 p.m. Witch Ripper, God Hammered, Pyre, and Violumnescence is all going to be performing at the Brick by Brick in San Diego, California at 7 p.m. Oh, and some pretty cool band names in there too. And to finally wrap things up for Sunday night, you can see the new Sawhorses, nice band name, who's going to be performing at the Hamilton Pool Vineyards and Farms in Round Mountain, Texas at 8 p.m. And on Monday, May 5th, aka Cinco de Mayo, you can see these following bands performing in a local area live near you. Charlie Imes is going to be performing at the Wicked Cantina in St. Petersburg, Florida at 1 p.m. Magic Monday Gaming Night is going to be performing at the Encom Cyber Hall in Norman, Oklahoma at 4 p.m. Charlie Garcia is going to be performing at the Laguna Bob in South Padre Island, Texas at 5 p.m. You can also see One Single Rose, who's going to be performing at the Aretha's Jazz Cafe in Detroit, Michigan at 6 p.m. Stefani Morton with Ness Noble and Debbie Champion. It's all going to be performing at the Commodore Grill in Nashville, Tennessee at 6 p.m. Sky Covington Live is going to be performing at the Aretha's Jazz Cafe in Detroit, Michigan at 6 p.m. Duo Over is going to be performing at the Laguna Bob in South Padre Island, Texas at 8 p.m. Monday Night Open Mic is going to be performing at the Mr. Peabody's in Encinitas, California at 8 p.m. Shane Cooley, nice band name, is going to be performing at the Tantra Coffee House in San Marcos, Texas at 8 p.m. Jamie Thomas is going to be performing at the Lick Bar in Long Island City, New York at 8 p.m. You can also see Chris Springer Music, who's going to be performing at the Square Groper Tiki Bar in Fort Pierce, Florida at 8 p.m. And to finally wrap things up for Sunday night or Monday night, and for all the bands we're going to mention for this week to kick off this Maycation, you can see Hip Swears, who's going to be performing at the Vincent in Worcester, Massachusetts at 8 p.m. If you guys want to go ahead and check out the complete list of bands that we couldn't list during this very broadcast, and trust me folks, there were a lot of them, you can head on over to ReverbNation.com to check out the complete list of bands that we couldn't list during this very broadcast. And while you're over there, check out a couple of their cool tunes. Trust me, they're worth the listen. Really are. And like we say at the end of all of these skits, go out there, support your local artists, and see these guys perform live. And trust me, they'll love you for it. And I guess with that said, I think it's time for us to head back into that music and continue to listen into these Diamonds in the Rough. Only here, right here on Music Village. So don't wear your horns out in open traffic just yet, folks, and stay tuned. And we're back with the afternoon show that is able to wear a Hawaiian shirt prior to a vacation by the end of the month, only known as Music Village. And Carl and the Maestro immediately asking a question if they're going to be able to go where they're planning on going before the end of this month. And the answer is yes, but not the end of Weatherman Stu. He's still barred from that place due to that disco ball incident. And you know which one I'm talking about, right? Yeah, you do. All right, well, you're going to have to break the news to him this Tuesday about it, too. But besides trying to break the bad news to a certain disco dancer who brought a 50-foot disco ball to a resort, I'm looking at my watch right now. Oh, it's just about that time. It's the witching hour, which means it's time for us to be brought up to speed with news stories from this week from, you guessed it, all around the world. And in our first news story, and an exciting news for you golf fans out there who always wanted to learn golf from someone who's awesome. Because, yeah, and this one hit me from out of left field, folks. It looks like The Miz is going to be teaching you how to golf. And yes, he would have his own golf page, and after winning some WrestleMania golf tours in the past, I got a feeling we're in good hands to learn golf for The Miz. Now, hopefully in the near future, we get a chance to see not only members of the party, meaning none other than Swiss Tony, Chugs, and Xavier Woods, aka Austin Creed, getting together for a little bit of live golf, or even get a chance to see celebrity golfers along the lines of Adam Sandler, Shooter McGavin, or even, I guess, Michael Jordan. Remember, at one point he did golf too. So here's hoping this opens up doors for a multitude of cool golfers to join alongside with the awesome one of The Miz. And if you guys want to go ahead and check out how Miz's golfing journey is going to begin, then you can go ahead and head on over to this brand new YouTube page, only known as Miz Golf, to check it out for yourselves. And in other news, and more or less musical cover news, for you Katy Cat fans out there who always wanted to hear a cool cover of an awesome song known as Blinding Faith from none other than Knock Loose, or apparently according to Carl and the Maestro, a cover of Knock Loose's song of Blinding Faith. Well, I have some good news for you, because the metal VTuber herself would hop onto the guitar and on the vocals alongside with Nick Nocturnal and Paula Korotska, and hopefully we said that name right, to pull off a wonderful cover of this awesome song. Now, here's hoping in the near future we get a chance to hear them do a cover of any Killswitch Engage song or any song featured from any of the secret Easter egg songs that would be featured during any of the Call of Duty games of the Black Ops variety. Because I got a feeling she could pull it off, because she definitely has some good metal vocal range, so it would be pretty cool to see if she's able to pull it off. And if you guys and gals out there want to go ahead and check out this awesome metal cover for yourselves, then you can go ahead and head on over to the YouTube page of one girl only known as Obi Katy Cat to check it out for yourselves. And in other news, and more or less musical what-if scenario news, because for you Matt Glocky fans out there who always wondered what he would sound like if he did a cover of By Myself by Linkin Park, well, Matt Glocky would answer that question for you for this week. Because he would hop on the microphone and pull off this what-if scenario if Stain wrote By Myself by Linkin Park. Now, At this point, I'm starting to wonder, what if Stain wrote Crawling by Linkin Park? Because I'm pretty sure he already did a cover of Numb by another artist. I just don't remember the name of it at the moment. But either way, it would be pretty cool to see if he's able to pull that off. That or the chance of hearing Linkin Park pull off the song Suffer. Yeah, you know, I hear it in my head right now, and I got a feeling it's going to require a lot of lozenges afterwards with how much strain on his voice is going to do. Yeah, it's going to be an extreme one, but I can't wait to see it if he's able to pull it off. And if you guys want to go ahead and check out this cool musical what-if scenario painted by Matt Glocke himself, then you can go ahead and head on over to the YouTube page of one man only known as Matt Glocke to check it out for yourselves. And I guess with all those regular news stories out of the way for this week, folks, you guys and gals out there know what time it is. No, Carl into my show. It's not time for us to get ready to get packing for a vacation. It's time for us to go into a very special Maycation kickoff edition of... And step back for this one because I got a feeling it's going to send this Hawaiian shirt blowing in the wind. Yeah, a little bit back, a little bit further back. All right, right there. Let's do this. Video game news. I get better and better every week. And in our, wait for it, first video game news story. And an exciting news for you fans out there who always wanted to see the Saw games get audited. Well, it looks like Kitten Arcader's back on the hunt again to audit John Kramer. I'm really starting to love when he does that too. And decided to audit the first Saw video game to see how much it would actually cost Jigsaw to pull off this feat in this game. And according to Carl and the Maestro, you're looking at a lot of digital simoleons for this one. Simoleons is for the Sims. I guess money, actual money for this one. But, you know, not to nitpick, pretty funny, pretty funny. And if you guys and gals out there want to go ahead and check out how much money Jigsaw would have to foot the bill for the video game of Saw, then you can go ahead and head on over to the YouTube page of one man only known as Kitten Arcader to check it out for yourselves. And in other video game news, and more or less news from the world of the big boys and girls from New Legacy Inc. For those out there who didn't want to catch the complete highlights of what happened at WrestleMania this past year from WWE, well, New Legacy Inc. got you covered. But not only in that front, folks, but for you Wrestling Empire fans out there who wanted to find out how quickly they can get a game over in that game, well, your questions are going to be answered in the most hilarious ways known possible. Because not only Beefy would be able to chop up the footage featuring all of the matches that happened at WrestleMania in the world of New Legacy Inc., but you would also see the big boys and girls of New Legacy Inc. hopping on the sticks that try to test how quickly they can get, I guess, killed in the world of Wrestling Empire. And if Poiple the Clown was any indicate, I got a feeling less than 3 months will do it. That's my estimation. Less than 3 months for them to get off in that game. But according to Carl and the Maestro, it might take longer than you think. All right. And And if you guys want to go ahead and check out what sort of insanity's coming down the tubes from the world of New Legacy Inc. and what sort of game over they can possibly get in that game with their history of breaking wrestling games, then you can go ahead and head on over to the big boy page of one man only known as New Legacy Inc. to check it out for yourselves. And in other news, and more or less news that is blowing up the online community from the world of Grand Theft Auto. Now, we'll just address the elephant in the room right now with the first news story, because for you fans out there who thought that Grand Theft Auto Online was going to be released in the fall of 2025, well, I'm afraid I've got some bad news. Because it's been announced as of today from the horse's mouth themselves of Rockstar Games that Grand Theft Auto 6 will be coming out as of May 26th of 2026. You know, when I tell people believe what the actual game developers tell you when a game gets released instead of what somebody online tells you when it gets released, believe that, not somebody online who thinks they know employees from Rockstar Games. And this would be a letter delivered from said Rockstar Games themselves. Grand Theft Auto 6 is now set to release as of May 26th of 2026. We are very sorry that this is later than what you expected. The interest and excitement surrounding a new Grand Theft Auto has been truly humbling for our entire team. We want to thank you for your support and your patience as we work to finish the game. With every game we have released, the goal has always been to try to exceed our expectations as well as yours. And Grand Theft Auto 6 is no exception. We hope you understand that we need this extra time to deliver at the level of quality you expect and deserve. We look forward to sharing more information with you soon. Sincerely, Rockstar Games. Now, with that letter read out as good as I possibly could, now my opinion on the factor. Learn some patience. I mean, learn some patience. For the love of God, learn some patience. They haven't released another trailer yet. They haven't released any gameplay footage yet. No photos, no nothing. Well, with the exception of the one trailer they dropped last year. But still, they haven't released anything else yet. And I've seen people leak more things online than a faucet with running water at the end of it during a winter to try to prevent the pipes from freezing. Learn some patience. For the love of God, man, learn some patience. And maybe a game might release on the day that they actually say it's gonna release. And that's just my opinion on it. Carla the Maestro saying I'm going on a bit of a tangent here, but at the same time, for somebody who's been waiting for this game for the longest, I got some patience because there's other games still out there that you can play until this one comes out. So learn some patience and don't believe the hype of whoever told you that if it doesn't come from the horse's mouth, the Rockstar Games itself. And I'll just leave it at that. And if you guys want to go ahead and check out this letter from Rockstar Games themselves on their Newswire page, then you can go ahead and head on over to the Twitter page of one man only known as Rockstar Games to check it out for yourselves. And with that said, folks, we now head into our next news story, which comes from the world of Grand Theft Auto Online, since a lot of you are going to be there for a little bit longer than what you originally estimated. I hate to say it like that, but it's true. Because for this week, for you fans out there for open wheel races, I have some good news for you. Because not only 40% off on open wheel cars for this week, but also a chance for you to get apparently $100,000 for any of you out there who is able to race in at least 2 open wheel races for this week. And alongside with that, for those fans out there who are able to complete the open wheel race this week, will be able to get the Dark Manor suit in less than 72 hours. And alongside with that, double the amount of money on payphone hits, as well as double the amount of money on tow truck services, even seeing 40% off on salvage yard properties during this week as well too, and their upgrades. And calling the Maestro set, we might as well mention the discounts, all right? Because not only you can get 40% off on the R88 open wheel car, BR4 open wheel car, the BR8 open wheel, the DR1 open wheel, as well as the Vapid Retune Mark II, 40% off, the Karen Calico GTF, 40% off, the Vapid Cara 4x4 car, 40% off, even none other than the Karen Vivanti, 40% off for this week as well too. And alongside with all of that, for this week, for you fans out there who's able to place in the top 5 for the LS Car Meet Series for 2 consecutive days in a row, you can go home with the Obey iWagon SUV car with the Candy Box Racing livery for this week. Nice! And on the lucky wheel for this week, the Emperor ETR1 Supercar with the Kronos livery is available for you if you're able to spin to win that vehicle for this week too. And with that being said, folks, if you guys want to go ahead and check out any other cool things that are still coming down the tubes from the world of Rockstar, then you can go ahead and head on over to the socialclub.rockstargames page, only known as socialclub.rockstargames.com, under the Newswire section to check it out for yourselves. And I guess with that said, folks, for this week, you've all officially been brought up. Wait 1 second, folks. Wait 1 second. I almost forgot the daily tradition. We need to get down with the groove and, bring me that Hawaiian hat over here. Yeah, that one. Right over there. Right on right. All right, let's do it. All right, we're stepping in time. Looking good with this Hawaiian shirt on. And to make it even better, we got these luau colors up here, too, for the lights. Nice. All right, that's enough of that because you've been brought up to speed. And I guess with that said, I think it's time for us to head back to that music one more time. And when we return, we'll be back with the final segment for Music Village for this week, right after this. So don't wear your horns out in open traffic just yet, folks, and stay tuned. Well, ladies and gentlemen, seeing the fact that the street lights are turning on, the evening traffic is really starting to flow through here, and we're fresh out of music for the night. Well, now that it's night, we might as well bring Music Village for this week to an emphatic close. But don't worry, if you miss any of that musical or even entertainment we were able to give you prior to you getting stuck in traffic for 3 hours, then you can go ahead and check it out again one more time, all the time, on our SoundCloud, Facebook, Instagram, and Live 365, as well as Tumblr page is still all named the same, only known as Music Village Radio under the hashtag MusicVillage565. And yes, Carl the Maestro, that's how many attempts we tried to make a brand new logo for the show. And this one works. It really is. And it might be permanent. Who knows? And if you guys want to figure out what the crazy and zany things we still got prepared for this vacation, like a cool logo we're going to send you off with, then you can go ahead and check it out on our YouTube, Discord, and Twitter pages still all named the same, only known as the Double Agent 0012. Before we head out for the night, we would like to thank, as always, you the fans out there for listening in to a very special May kickoff edition of Music Village. And if you guys and gals out there like what you heard, go out there and spread the word. You know what? Like Babs and Buster Bunny at the end of one of the episodes of Tiny Toon Adventures. Yeah, you know, the PR department knows where I'm going with this one and says it works well with these Hawaiian shirts. And the PR department actually wearing Hawaiian shirts with me this week too. Nice. And we would also like to thank you, the independent artists out there, for doing that musical goodness like you always do. And keep up the great work, guys. And here's hoping your music gets featured during our Maycation in the future. And why? Because we believe in you guys. That's why. That's why. Also, and plus it'll help out with the R&R we're gonna need. And speaking of people's music that is most likely gonna help out with somebody's rest and relaxation they're gonna have as well, we would like to thank our musical guest for this week, none other than James B.Howard with their said song of It's Going to Be Okay. Also, Roboctopus, nice band name by the way, with their said song of Crystal Cavern Cruisin. Natali Lyon with their said song of Gambling. Basement in My Loft with their said song of Basement. Brian D Addario with their said song of Nothing on My Mind. And finally, Tekno AXE with their said song of Robot Chomp that was featured during a very special Iron Stomping Multiversal edition of the DJ Smokey's True Video Game Stories. And no call into my show, I didn't forget about you guys. Yeah, we would also like to thank Carl and the Maestro with their said song of Blue Collar Jam Session that was featured during the outro for this week's edition of Music Village. And like always, guys, keep up the great work, and we can't wait to hear what you got coming down the tubes next. And finally, last but not least, we would like to thank you, the independent gamers out there, for coming out with all those sweet, sweet video game hits and clips we had a chance to mention during this week's show. Like we always say around here, keep them coming, because you never know what show might be coming around the corner next. Hint, 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 hint. And I guess with everybody thanked, you guys out there know we go out. I'm DJ Smokey on behalf of Carl and the Maestro, and for our Maycation kickoff of a month, or half of it at least, saying aloha. But most importantly, when there's smoke, there's fire. And we'll see you guys next week for a very special May 9th edition of Music Village. And no call in the Maestro, I couldn't come up with a better title for it. That was the best we got. But until then, folks, good night, everybody.